federal government has been mostly shut down for more than a month now. The key point of contention in this debate isn't even really funding for a border wall. It's funding for maybe a fifth of a border wall, a total of about $5 billion. So let's say you're not Jeff Bezos and you're having trouble getting perspective on how much is $5 billion. Well, to start with, it's about 1/8 of 1% of the federal budget. And to put that in perspective, that's less than the amount of money taxpayers send to Ivy League colleges every single year. A 2017 report from Open the Books found that from 2010 to 2015, the 8 schools of the Ivy League received about $41.6 billion in government support. That's about $7 billion per year. Now, you're probably thinking, well, I'm sure all of that went to vitally important scientific research. No. Most of it was in the form of grants. It also included billions in special tax breaks, including for their endowments. The Ivy League's combined endowments total more than $120 billion of 2017. Now, in a normal nonprofit foundation, they're required to spend a certain percentage every year. I think it's 5%. But Ivy League or all university endowments can just keep it growing completely tax-free in perpetuity. Meanwhile, have tuitions gone down? No, they haven't. They've risen faster than the rate of inflation. Who's benefiting from this? Well, in the Ivy League, those schools are run and mostly attended by the connected and the well-off. What you see here is a very familiar syndrome. The rich are getting richer, and you're paying for it. So here's an idea. Why not eliminate their indefensible tax breaks and use the savings to fund a wall? If the price is really what you're bothered by, is billions of dollars a year to people who are already rich really a better use of taxpayer funds than protecting the country? We'll let you think about it. From 2007 to 2013, the Small Business Administration gave more than $160 million in loans to country clubs, yacht clubs, and golf courses. That's true. The VA, meanwhile, has spent $20 million buying art. So what's more important to you, those expenditures or a secure border for the country you live in? It doesn't really matter what you think, by the way. Washington's already made up its mind, and they honestly don't care what your opinion is. But you can still have it if you want, at least for now. So if a wall isn't built, we can't necessarily expect any help from Mexico in keeping our borders secure. In fact, just the opposite. A new Central American caravan is rapidly growing in size. The Mexican government, meanwhile, has made it much easier to obtain humanitarian visas to allow these migrants to move northward toward our southern border, as they are right now. Meanwhile, in Washington, there are a few cracks, tiny ones, but maybe significant, forming in the Democratic coalition against a physical barrier on our border. Democratic Congressman Colin Peterson says Congress should give President Trump the money he wants for the wall because it would be helpful, and if we, as we just said, we've spent a lot more money on far dumber things. Mark Morgan was the head of the Border Patrol under President Obama, and he joins us tonight. Mr. Morgan, thank you for coming on. This news from Mexico is really interesting and kind of unexpected. You wouldn't think in the middle of a crisis like this, Mexico, supposedly our ally, would be working against our interests, but they seem to be. Why?
Absolutely. And if you think, I was thinking about this the past couple of days, they really went from incompetent bystanders to facilitators. That's what happened with this latest.
The Mexican government.
The Mexican government, absolutely. And it just furthers and it really, I think, identifies what the problem is on this side. It's different, and that's why the president is right when he talks about the national security issue as well as the humanitarian. On the humanitarian side, the loopholes in our asylum laws and the bad judicial decisions like Flores, it's acting as an incentive for those to come to this country illegally. And now we have Mexico. Again, now they've gone from incompetent bystanders to facilitators to help those individuals come here. It's just outrageous.
Considering the Mexican economy is, I don't think it's an overstatement to say, dependent upon the United States, both remissions from Mexican citizens living here, trade, the maquiladoras along the border. Why wouldn't the U.S. government say, no, you can't do this or we're going to punish you?
Well, that's exactly right. And that's one of the narratives. If you go to the experts that have been working all things national security, humanitarian crisis on the southwest border, Tucker, that's what they've been saying for a very long time, decades. If you go to leadership of CBP, you go to DHS, they have been trying to work with Mexico and force them to get skin in the game, to force them to be proactive participants in solving this problem instead of now being facilitators. So the wall is a great thing. It's a great start, and we need that absolutely. We need it now. But we also have to continue to drive and force Mexico to do what they should. If they don't, the problem will continue.
Why do you think the coverage, and this is not an attack on the Mexican people, many of whom are great people, I think.
Absolutely.
But the Mexican government is corrupt. I mean, the last president has just been accused of taking $100 million from drug traffickers. So there's no question it's corrupt. Why does the American media act as if the Mexican government is morally superior to our own?
I think that's a great question. Again, I think that goes in part of the false narrative that makes me so angry. We haven't talked about the Mexican cartels, that they're alive and well, and they're thriving, and they're warring over the plaza corridors. And why is that? Because it's real. Because corruption is real. Their control over the Mexican government is real. We have to stop denying that and tell American people the truth about the issue. And the Mexican government, they are part of the problem.
It seems really clear, and thank you for saying that so clearly yourself. Appreciate it.